Good morning, students. Welcome to yet another lecture of simulation of business systems, and we are in the MOOCs course on this advanced technique of studying systems, business systems, typically productive systems. And today we are going to cover the topic on the continuation of the topic on probability and statistics, which is necessary for simulation. We are not talking about the classical probability and statistics, only the portion which is specifically required for this course. And I am Dr. Deepa Philip, I am from IIT Kanpur. So, if you look into today's agenda, the probability and statistics for simulation as being the broader topic, we have already gone through basic ideas of probability. We have also gone through basic ideas of statistics. These are, and then why probability and statistics for engineers and business analysts or business managers. These are, as if you think about it, we have completed this with respect to the need of the course. Okay. So, whatever the course requires for the time being is what we are covering. We are not really covering everything in detail. So, for detail, please refer books. Okay. There are probability and statistics for engineers and scientists by J.L. DeVore is a pretty good book, and you can. So, the name of the book is Probability and Statistics for Engineers and Scientists. Author is J.L. DeVore. Okay. This is a good book for people to study more of these things in detail. We are only looking at simple things that are pertaining to this particular topic of this course. Today we will try to cover this concepts of treatment of data, why it is important and why it is necessary for simulation. We talk about two simple tools, Pareto diagram and frequency distribution, and then we will also go to histogram. We will try to cover all these three in today's lecture. Okay. So, we will say this is our today's plan. We might finish it in one lecture or we might finish it in 1.5 lecture kind of a thing. Okay. So, the first topic or the first part we need to do is we talk about is the treatment of data. Okay. Why do we need to, the question here is why do we need data? And why should we treat data? Okay. Towards the end of this lecture, we hope that we would be able to understand or get an answer to these two particular questions. So, in simulation studies, specifically in simulation studies, the frequent needs arise. Okay. The lot of needs, lot of the time. So, you can say frequent needs means, okay, most of the times you require summarizing and describing important features of data. Okay. So, your aim in the simulation studies is to summarize. Okay. Summarize mean provide a summary. And why do we need to do this? Because simulation studies generate large volumes of data. And the analyst has to present it in understandable format. For the decision maker. Okay. Like a CEO, CFO, those kind of things. So, the decision maker does not have time to go through these large volumes of data, huge amount of data. So, the job of the analyst becomes summarizing and describing the data. Okay. Present it in the understandable format involves these two. Okay. So, summarize and describe the data. So, some of the things that we are going to study in this particular class is about how do we summarize and describe the data. Presently, okay, this is also known as descriptive statistics. Okay. So, this process of summarizing and describing important features of data is commonly known as descriptive statistics, also known by the fancy term descriptive analytics. Okay. So, this descriptive statistics and descriptive analytics can use the terms interchangeably. Okay. As far as I am concerned, there is not much change in this, except the fact that there is some people will talk about there is a hypothesis, but for the practical purpose of this course, we can assume that the both are exactly the same. Okay. So, this field of statistics that deals with summarizing and describing the important features of data is called as the descriptive statistics. Okay. We will say there are two major aspects to this, to descriptive statistics. Okay. There are two major aspects. What are those two? Number one, first one, okay, represent the data set using various visual tools. Okay. So, the first aspect of the descriptive stats is you represent, okay, or you depict, okay, or you depict the data set using various visual tools. Okay. Why do we do this? The question is, why do we do this? The answer is to observe and identify specific patterns within the data. Within the data. Okay. So, what we do is when you use various visual tools, because people are visual in nature, we are very good at identifying. So, if I draw a picture like this, you will say it is a human being. Okay. If you do this, you will say it is a smiling human being, whereas it is not even remotely close to what an actual human being looks like, except that it is a stick figure, but we are able to identify various patterns, specific patterns that are with respect to a human being. So, we are able to identify and say this as a human being. So, same way or representation of human being. So, that same way we are able to observe and identify various patterns within the data, and for that visual tools are very useful. The second aspect of is develop some numerical summary measures. Numerical summary measures from the data. Okay. So, here what we try to do is we try to develop some numerical summary measures or try to summarize the data. Why? Because these measures, these summary measures can point to the behavior of the data. Okay, which implies behavior of process. Why? Because process generates data. Okay, data is generated typically by a process, and if you can summarize the data, summarize numerical measures from the data, you are actually summarizing the behavior of the process. This is the reason why descriptive statistics is very important for the simulation studies. So, one of the first tool that we will study in this class or this concept is the Pareto diagram. Okay. Pareto diagram is quite common, quite famous, and lot of people uses it, and for multiple reasons. And what is a Pareto diagram? It's a Pareto diagram, it's a type of bar chart. Okay, a bar chart in which various factors that contribute to a common result Okay. Some people also call this common result as overall effect. Okay. This common result or overall effect is arranged in order to the magnitude of their effect. Okay. So, the major points of this is it is a type of bar chart. Okay. Bar chart is something like you have a x axis, a y axis, and you have bars like these. Okay. You can call this as a bar chart. Okay. It's type of a bar chart in which various factors. So, we are looking at various factors pertaining to the data that we have that contribute to a common result or an overall effect. So, there is a common result to which various factors are associated with. Okay. So, and a way to look into this is an effect or a common cause. Okay. Effect can have multiple factors. Okay. So, for the time being I am going to give you 5 main ones: man, materials, methods, money, and obviously yes, something called as mother nature or randomness. Okay. We call it as uncertainty. So, man is the human being that is involved, materials is the materials that are using to make the process, methods is the practices that you are following, money is the finances that are required. Okay. So, all those things are important. So, these factors contribute to the a particular effect, and you are trying to find out which one of these factors contribute to that particular effect the most. That is the idea here. Okay. So, they are arranged in order, okay, arranged in ascending or descending order or appropriate order, arranged in the order of magnitude of the result. Okay. So, what is Pareto principle? There is this Pareto diagram is based on a principle called Pareto principle. This states that in any group of things, that contribute to a common result, states that in any group of things that contribute to a common result, or the other word is an effect. Okay. Result is also people call the scientific term as an effect. A relatively few contributors, or we can talk about it as factors. Contributors are the factors, obviously. Contributors account for the majority of the effect. Okay. So, what we are saying here is that a small number, a relatively few small limited numbers of them account for majority of them. Okay. Or it is commonly known as 80-20 principle. Okay. Which means this is 20% of factors contribute to 80% of effects. Okay. So, the 80% of the effect or the result is basically contributed by 20% of factors. This is the few factors. Okay. And here is the majority effect. Okay. Hope it is clear to you guys now. Okay. So, what does it do? So, then Pareto diagram is useful for concentrating. It is useful for concentrating the focus on those factors that have the greatest impact on the result. On the results. So, what we are saying here is it is useful for concentrating the focus. So, we can pretty much focus on these limited few factors, focus on these 20 factors or 20% of the factors which have the greatest impact on the results or which has 80% of the impact on the results. Focus on them so that we can get the so the aim is to get maximum return for money. Okay. So, if we focus on the factors that are contributing to the most or the majority of the effects, then obviously if you change them, you make them better, then your production will also be better. Okay. Additionally, it also communicates the rationale, okay, the rationale of why certain factors were chosen and given priority over others. So, when you are trying to talk to your decision maker, okay, the communication is with the decision maker. Okay. So, the decision makers, when you are trying to tell them why you are focusing on certain factors and why are you giving priority to those factors over others, for that your Pareto diagram is a good communication tool. Okay. With this, what we will try to do is we will try to work a small example of Pareto diagram and see how this is being constructed. And so, now let us see how we can build a Pareto diagram. Okay. There are various factors. Okay. So, the example problem is that there are various factors that contribute towards the time taken to decide the treatment protocol in an emergency room of a hospital. So, the factor here is time taken to decide the treatment protocol in an emergency room of a hospital. Okay. So, the data is, let us look at what the data is. The data says, okay, less material. Okay. Let us say here is the causes, okay, and not the causes, let us say factors. Okay. Let this be the factors and this be the number of occurrence. Okay. So, 2 less materials, it results in 17 occurrences, or it results in 17 occurrences, okay, of delay in time taken, towards the delay in time taken. Okay. So, then let us say wrong size is another factor, wrong size amounts to 10, then missing item accounts for 8, then wrong supplies, they account for 67, then we have, let us say, damaged item, it accounts for 6 of those, then we have excess material, this accounts for 24 of those cases. Then wrong sterilization, it accounts for 10. Then others, this accounts for 2. Okay. So, let us see how much it is. 6, 10, 12, 20, 27, 34. So, this whole thing, a total of this accounts for 144 of these occurrences. Okay. So, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 items here. Okay. So, now the question is, you have 8 of them and all of them are contributing towards more time taken, or it is resulting in delay of the, or it is adding to the time taken to decide the treatment protocol in an emergency room of a hospital. In an emergency room, you would rather like the patient to be treated quickly, and in any delay could be life consuming. So, the question here is, how do we focus on, or which are the factors we need to focus on in this regard. Okay. So, the first thing that we do is, in a data like this, what we do is we arrange them in the descending order. So, the step 1, arrange data in the descending order. Okay. So, in this case, if we do that, then we have the data gets arranged in the form of wrong supplies. Okay. That will be 67. Then the next is excess material, that is 24. Then 2 less material, that is 17. Okay. 17, like this all the way to others, which is 2. Okay. So, in the decreasing order of the count, okay, or the number of occurrences, you arrange the data in the descending order. Okay. I think that is very simple to do. So, all of you can do that. Now, once we have this, the next thing we do is, using this data, calculate frequency, relative frequencies. So, I will write this is step 2. Okay. So, what we will do is, I will write it in a tabular form, and I will explain to you how the calculation was done. So, we will say it as the factors, okay, and we will have number of occurrence. Okay. So, the first factor is, as we said in the descending order, wrong supplies. Okay. The number was 67. Then excess material, the number was 24. Then 2 less material, that is 17. Then wrong size, 10. Wrong sterilization, 10. Missing item, 8. Damaged item, 6. Other, 2. Okay. So, we sorted this in the descending order, and we have what we call as the total column, this summed to 144. Okay. So, now the next thing what I told is calculate the relative frequency. So, let us call it as relative frequency, all right. So, the relative frequency is calculated by the equation, I will write it here. Relative frequency is equals number of occurrence divided by total number. Okay. So, in this case, then it will be 67 divided by 144, that would be 46.5. This will be 24 by 144, okay. That will be 16.7. Next one will be 17 over 144, okay. That will be 11.8. Next one will be 6.9, which will be 10 divided by 144. Next one will also be 6.9, 10 divided by 144. Then it will be 5.6, which will be 8 divided by 144. Then 6 will be 4.2, which is 6 divided by 144, and 2 is 1.4, okay. So this 1.4 is, these are all, okay, not relative frequency. This is relative frequency multiplied by 100, okay. So what I am trying to say here is, these are the percentages. 100 percentage. Okay. So this much percentage. So what it actually says is, the wrong supplies accounts for 46.5% of the time why the patient is not given. So this tells you what percentage of the cause the factor is responsible for. Where most of the people will be attributing the same thing to sterilization. You can see the sterilization only accounts for 6.9% of the time when the patient is not given the right treatment, whereas wrong supplies is the major reason, one of the major reasons, okay. Then the second one, what we call as a cumulative frequency, okay, cumulative frequency. And what this does is, this also is in percentage, but what it does is, we keep on accumulating the sum, okay. So this will be, first cumulative frequency will be 46.5%. The next one will be 46.5 plus 16.7, which gives you 63.2 percentage, okay. Next one will be 63.2 plus 11.8, which will be 75 percentage. This will be 75 plus 6.9, which will be 81.9 percentage. The next one will be 88.8 percentage, which will be 81.9 plus 6.9. Then 88.8 plus 5.6 will give you 94.4 percentage. Then 94.4 plus 4.2 will give you 98.6 percentage. 98.6 plus 1.4 will give you 100 percentage, okay. So ideally speaking, when the cumulative frequency is done, the last value should sum to 100, because all of these factors account for the 100 percentage. All these factors put together tell you that, okay, these 8 factors contribute to 100% of the reasons why the treatment is delayed for the particular patient in the hospital. Now if you look into this, you can see that the cumulative frequency, the first two factors account for 63%. The first 3 factors put together accounts for, these 3 accounts for 75% of the time why the patient is not getting the treatment, or the treatment is getting delayed in the emergency room. So this is one of the reasons. If you look into this, there are 8 factors, okay. So there are 8 factors, out of which 3 contribute to about 80% of the cause. So 3 out of 8, okay, you can think about that's about 20%, right. I mean slightly more than 20%, it does not matter. But what we are saying is, the numbers are limited, they are not a major, not a large chunk, it is much less than half of the reason, okay. So now how do we, this is now a table you can consider it as a diagram, but how do we draw it as a diagram, okay. So if you look into this, the way to draw this as a diagram is, this is kind of a tricky diagram. Usually you have a x axis and a y axis. Sorry, my straight line drawing skills are very bad, but let us see whether I can draw a straight line. Yes, I can, okay. 0, this is x, is y, okay, or let us call this as y1 for the time being. Okay. And what this axis is trying to do is, here you have the factors. In the x axis we will list the factors, we have 8 factors. So, we will write the 8 factors here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay. And then you have your percentage here, okay. So, then you have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, okay. So, you have all the percentages going there that way, right. And these percentages will be, you can think about as relative frequency, okay. So, and the factors here is, the first one is the wrong supply, okay. Then the next one is excess, second one was what, excess material, and then the third one was too less material, okay. Then the next one is wrong size, then wrong sterilization, wrong size, wrong sterilization, then we have is missing item, damaged item and others, missing item, damaged item and others, okay. And the wrong supply, we can see that it is 46.5% is the relative frequency. So, we take these relative frequency values, these values, okay, and we plot, and then we are plotting them, okay. So, if you look into that, then we have 46.5. So, 40 somewhere here, 46.5, okay. So, we put a bar chart right here, okay. That is wrong supply, 46.5. Second one is the excess count, 16.7. So, somewhere here we draw this, okay. You can draw this beautifully using Excel or anything like that. I am drawing this to demonstrate, that is it. Next one is 11.8, okay. So, somewhere here, okay. Then we have is 6.9, two values, okay. So, somewhere here, okay, same way 6.9, two values. Then we have is 5.6 and 4.2 and 1.4. So, 5.6 would be slightly less than this, not too less, but slightly less. Then we have is 4.2 and 1.4. So, 4.2 will be still lesser than this, not too much. 1.2 is like a small bar here. So, these ones, so some people would write the values right here, some people won't write. So, this is the initial aspect of a Pareto diagram. But Pareto diagram is not over yet, because you typically draw one more axis right here, okay, which is what we call as the Y2 axis, where we do the cumulative percentage, cumulative frequency, okay. So, we have, let us say, same 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Assume that these two are of the same size, okay. I am bad in doing this, you typically do this at the same exact fashion. So, the first one is, okay, we will just kind of use this, but we have a second axis, Y2 axis. So, the first one is the cumulative percentage was, let us say, 46.5, then the next one is 63.2. So, ideally speaking 63.2 is right here, okay. Then the third one is 75. So, 75, somewhere here. You can see that this axis is wrong. Ideally, the cumulative percentages comes from here. Okay, the cumulative comes from the left side. Okay, same as y1. Okay, not same scale of y1. Okay, I have not drawn it properly. You require a proper graph paper or a graphing tool to do this. So, then 75, you can use Excel to do this. Then the wrong size is, if you look into this, that is wrong size comes to 2 less material comes to 81.9%. So, the next one is 81.9, wrong size comes to 81.9, it comes somewhere here 81.9. Okay. Then comes is 88.8. So, 88.8 is somewhere here. Okay. Then comes is 94.4. Okay. So, somewhere here 94.4, somewhere here. Okay. Then is 98.6. 98.6 for this is somewhere here. Okay. Then 100 is, okay, let me erase this. 100 is, okay, somewhere here. The 100 should also, this 100 should also match right here. Okay. So, ideally should look at 50 someplace here. So, ensure that they match. Okay. So, if you draw from 0, okay, if you draw a curve like this to this, okay, this is the cumulative graph. Okay. So, with this, now if you look into what you call as this 80-20 percentage. So, let us look at somewhere where is this 80 percentage. Okay. So, let us call this as the 80 aspect. So, let us draw the 80. Okay. Actually, it's not, does not draw, you do not draw it from there, you actually draw it from the cumulative. So, 80 comes here. Okay. So, comes and meets here. Okay. So, if we look into this portion. So, the first 3, okay, 80, this is 81%, I believe, this is 81 point something percentage. Okay. So, this 80 comes and meets here. So, these values, these 3, okay, these are the vital few factors. So, these 3 factors, wrong supply, excess material, okay, and too less material, these 3 contribute to the majority. So, these vital few factors contribute to approximately 80% of the effect or the cause. Okay. Then this is what we call as the useful many. Okay. They are not vital, but they are useful. You can use them and you can understand them and you can identify why it is important and those kind of things down the road. Okay. Now, with this, what the major thing about this is that this graph is able to, so this gives you a quick and overall summary to the decision maker on the need of focusing on the few vital factors. Okay. So, so this will allow you to understand why this thing is this graph, this particular why this particular what we call as our Pareto diagram is an important graphical summary tool for the decision makers. Okay. All right. So, then we now get into the next tool, which is called as a frequency distribution, and what we will do is we will continue frequency distribution after a small break. Thank you.